All right, so we're diving deep today into the world of underrated rappers.
Oh, yeah.
You gave us a list, actually,
Yes, you did.
of what some people consider the most underrated rappers
Right.
from a site called thetop10s.com.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting
Yeah, yeah.
mix of established names and some newer artists. And
Mhm.
we're going to
Yeah.
break it down, and see what makes them so special.
Yeah, that word underrated, I think, is where it gets really interesting
Mm.
because you're really talking about impact versus recognition.
Right. And it's all subjective too, right?
It's
Like
absolutely
what one person thinks is underrated, somebody else could say, well, no, they were huge.
exactly
So it's all a matter of perspective. I
right.
mean, we're talking names like KRS-One,
Yes.
Cool G Rap,
Pioneers.
pioneers who helped shape the sound of hip hop.
Absolutely.
And then you've got artists like Hopsin and Yellow Wolf, who
Yeah.
are known for their distinctive styles and pushing
Yeah,
boundaries.
absolutely. And let's start with Cool G Rap. I think he is often credited with pioneering mafioso rap.
Uh-huh.
And that style directly influenced countless artists, even arguably the great Nas.
Wow. So to lay the groundwork for an entire subgenre,
Yeah.
that's huge in terms of influence, right?
Absolutely. It's huge.
But did everybody catch on to his brilliance right away?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
what we're trying to figure out here.
Exactly. And let's transition to someone who takes a very different approach.
Okay.
Immortal Technique.
Oh, yeah.
Born Felipe Andres Coronel, February 19th, 1978.
This is a guy who is not afraid to get political,
Yeah.
to use his music as a platform for social commentary.
Right.
Some people have compared him to Tupac in terms of, really using their voices for something bigger than music.
And that raises a question, though, right?
Yeah.
Can an artist be considered truly underrated if they have a dedicated, passionate fan base, even if it's not as massive as, a Drake or a Kanye?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, there's levels of recognition, right? You can be like a legend in the underground scene,
Mhm.
but still relatively unknown to the average listener.
Absolutely.
And I think Immortal Technique definitely falls into that category.
He does.
Speaking of impactful figures, we can't overlook Big L, who sadly left us way too soon.
Yes. Lamont Coleman, May 30th, 1974 to February 15th, 1999.
His flow was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
His rhymes were intricate.
Yeah.
His wordplay was just next level.
Next level.
It's heartbreaking to think about what he could have achieved
Yeah.
if his career hadn't been cut short.
There's a powerful what if factor
Mm.
with Big L. I mean, he was on track to be, mentioned with Nas Biggie,
Right.
all the greats.
And that brings us to another interesting case.
Okay.
Royce 5'9",
Yeah.
Ryan Daniel Montgomery.
Known for his complex rhyme schemes.
Yes, incredible lyrical ability.
Absolutely. But he's also been in the shadow
Right.
of one of the biggest names in the game.
Exact.
His longtime collaboration with Eminem raises the question of, being overshadowed.
Mm.
You have two incredibly skilled artists working together, yet one reaches global superstardom while the other one, remains relatively under the radar.
It makes you think about the role of timing luck marketing, even.
All of it. Yeah.
In an artist's rise to fame,
Yeah,
you could have all the talent in the world, but sometimes it takes more than that to break through.
absolutely. And now let's jump to an artist
Okay.
who's made a name for himself by kind of defying mainstream trends.
Right.
Hopsin.
Okay, Hopsin, born Marcus Jamal Hopsin,
Mm.
July 18, 1985.
He's known for his unique lyrical content
Uh-huh.
and his willingness to address difficult topics head on.
Yeah.
Plus, his production style often stands apart from the typical radio-friendly sound.
Right.
His early album, Emerge, and then later, Raw,
Yes.
were critically acclaimed for their boldness and originality.
Right.
But did they reach the massive audience they deserved?
Right.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, and sometimes those albums that don't initially get huge commercial success become like cult classics.
Absolutely.
They gain a devoted following later
Yeah.
who really appreciate the artist's uncompromising vision.
Right. And speaking of consistent quality,
Okay.
let's talk about AZ.
Okay, Anthony Cruz.
Known for his sharp rhyme schemes and his ability to just deliver bars with effortless flow.
Yes.
He's often praised for the consistently high quality of his work album after album.
And he's been closely associated with Nas,
Yeah.
even being a part of The Firm.
The Firm.
It makes you wonder how collaborations can affect an artist's trajectory.
Yeah.
Sometimes they boost you to a whole new level, but other times they can overshadow individual talent.
It's a delicate balance for sure.
Yeah.
Now get ready for a deep dive into the mysterious world of MF Doom.
Oh, yes. MF Doom, Daniel DeMille.
Mm,
A name synonymous with mystery and lyrical genius.
absolutely.
His whole persona, the mask, the supervillain vibe.
Right.
It's like he stepped out of a comic book and into the world of hip-hop.
What's fascinating is that the persona wasn't just a gimmick.
Right.
It really amplified his artistry.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it added another dimension to his already, complex lyrics and the exploration of identity in his music.
Right. And then there's the fact that his death in 2020
Oh, yeah.
wasn't even revealed until 2 months later.
Crazy, right?
It's almost like he planned it that way.
Yeah.
Like wanting to keep us guessing even after he was gone.
Adds to the enigma, for sure.
Yeah, his music is dense,
Yes.
layered with wordplay metaphors, obscure references.
Oh, yeah. You could spend hours dissecting a single verse and
Right.
still find new layers of meaning.
It's like he created his own language within the language of hip-hop.
Yeah.
No wonder he's hailed as a lyrical genius by so many.
Absolutely.
But let's shift gears now to an artist who brings a completely different energy to the table.
Okay.
Tekken 9.
Tekken 9.
Remember that listener comment
Yep.
about his catalog being hit after hit?
Yeah, that's a great point because
Yeah.
while he might not be dominating the mainstream airwaves,
Right.
Tech N9 has cultivated a fiercely loyal and passionate fan base.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they go crazy for his rapid-fire delivery, his complex rhyme schemes, and his fearless genre bending.
He's always pushing the boundaries
Always.
of what hip-hop can be,
Yeah,
from horrorcore to metal influences.
right.
He's not afraid to experiment and create his own lane.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of creating your own lane,
Yes.
we've got to talk about his independent empire, Strange Music.
Oh, yeah. Co-founded with Travis O'Guin back in 1999.
Wow.
It's a testament to Tech N9's vision and entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't wait for someone to give him a chance.
Right.
He built his own platform and connected directly with his fans.
It's a model that a lot of independent artists are following today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Building your own brand, your own label, your own world.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of building a world, Yellow Wolf is another artist on this list
Yeah,
who's carved out his own unique space
absolutely.
in the hip-hop landscape.
Yeah, his lyrical dexterity is undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
But what really sets Yellow Wolf apart, I think, is his ability to weave narratives
Yeah.
and create vivid imagery with his words.
Mm-hmm.
He's a master storyteller,
Mm-hmm.
drawing you into his world and making you feel every emotion.
I've heard people say listening to Yellow Wolf is like watching a movie unfold in your mind.
Exactly.
It's not just music, it's a full sensory experience.
Yeah, and you have to mention his early independent work,
Right.
like Creekwater from 2005.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible to see how artists evolve over time,
Mm.
honing their craft and finding their voice.
Right.
Creekwater was raw hungry
Mm.
and already showed glimpses of the lyrical genius he'd become.
Yeah. And then there's KRS-One,
KRS-One.
a true legend who transcends the boundaries of music.
Absolutely.
He's not just an MC.
Right.
He's an educator, a philosopher, a voice of conscience for the hip-hop community.
He's earned that title, the Teacher,
Yeah.
for a reason. His impact extends far beyond the music itself.
Right. He's dedicated his life to uplifting the community, promoting knowledge, and challenging us to think critically about the world around us.
Absolutely.
And yet, despite his monumental contributions,
Right.
he often finds himself on these underrated lists.
Interesting, isn't it?
It's like his message and his impact sometimes get overshadowed
Yeah.
by the sheer volume of his work.
It speaks to the complexity of how we define underrated, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes an artist can be so prolific, so influential across so many areas that it's difficult to fully grasp the extent of their impact.
It's like trying to fit an ocean into a teacup.
Yeah,
You can only capture a small portion of the vastness.
exactly.
Now, on the flip side,
Mm-hmm.
there are artists who achieve massive commercial success,
Right.
but still face a level of critical scrutiny
Yeah.
that might lead some to consider them underrated as well.
Interesting.
The source material even brought up Kid Cudi
Kid Cudi. Yeah.
as an example.
It's an interesting case because he's undeniably had a huge impact on popular culture.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his music has resonated with millions, and he's broken down barriers in terms of vulnerability and mental health in hip-hop.
Right, songs like Soundtrack to My Life, The Prayer, The Pursuit of Happiness have become anthems
Absolutely.
for an entire generation.
Yeah.
But there's also a sense that he's never quite gotten the full credit he deserves
Mm-hmm.
for his musical innovation and his impact on artists who came after him.
Perhaps it's because he doesn't fit neatly into any one box, you know?
Right.
He's too unique, too introspective, too willing to experiment, to be easily categorized.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can make it harder for the mainstream to fully embrace an artist's work.
It's like he's too busy breaking the mold to worry about fitting into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, this whole conversation brings us back to the big debate
Yeah.
sparked by this list that the inclusion of artists like Eminem and Nas among the underrated.
It definitely raised some eyebrows, right?
It seems counterintuitive at first.
Yeah. How can artists who are considered icons, who have sold millions of records and won countless awards, how can they be seen as underrated?
But the more I think about it,
Yeah.
the more I understand the argument. It's
Uh-oh.
not about denying their success or their impact.
No.
It's about acknowledging that even the most celebrated figures
Right.
can still be underappreciated in certain aspects.
It's about looking beyond the surface level of fame and commercial success and recognizing the nuances of their artistry,
Right.
their influence on the genre as a whole,
Yeah.
and their long-lasting impact on the culture.
It's like saying Michael Jordan is an underrated basketball player.
Yeah.
He's clearly a legend,
He is.
but does everyone fully appreciate the subtleties of his game,
Right.
his impact on the sport beyond just scoring points?
Exactly.
It'd be that.
And that's where this underrated conversation gets really fascinating.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront our own biases and to think critically about what we value in art and music.
So it's less about slapping a label on someone and more about sparking a dialogue,
Right.
about encouraging listeners to dig deeper and form their own opinions.
Precisely. And speaking of digging deeper,
Yes.
let's move on to some of the other names on this list.
Right.
The ones who might not have the same level of mainstream recognition,
Right.
but who are making waves in their own right.
We've got a whole section of contenders and newcomers
Yeah.
who are pushing the boundaries of hip-hop and redefining what it means to be underrated. So we were just talking about those artists who might not be like household names,
Right.
but are absolutely pushing the boundaries of hip-hop. And this list from the top 10s has some interesting contenders and newcomers.
Yeah.
Black Thought from the Roots immediately comes to mind.
Oh, Black Thought.
Amazing.
His lyrical prowess is undeniable.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the complex rhyme schemes, the thought-provoking content, delivered with this smooth, almost effortless flow.
Right.
Some argue that, he's been slightly overshadowed by the band's overall sound and image.
Right.
But true hip-hop heads know Black Thought's talent.
It's like he's a secret weapon. Yeah.
Adding this depth and complexity
Absolutely.
to the Roots music. And then you got MC Ren.
MC Ren, yeah.
A key member of NWA.
Yeah, a powerful voice.
Yeah.
Who brought a raw intensity to the group's sound.
Absolutely.
His contributions to NWA are undeniable.
Mm.
But I think some believe he hasn't received the individual recognition he deserves.
Right.
He's a powerful lyricist with a distinct voice, and his solo work is definitely worth checking out.
And of course, we can't forget about Iggy Azalea.
Iggy Azalea.
She's a polarizing figure, no doubt.
Yeah.
But she's undeniably made an impact on hip-hop, especially in terms of breaking down barriers
Yeah.
for female artists in a male-dominated genre.
She's been both praised for her technical skills
Yeah.
and criticized for cultural appropriation.
Right.
But regardless of where you stand on that debate, Iggy Azalea's presence in hip-hop has sparked some important conversations
Yeah.
about representation, authenticity, and the evolution of the culture. It's amazing how this concept of underrated is constantly in flux.
Yeah.
As new artists emerge and older artists are reevaluated,
Right.
those lines between overlooked and celebrated are always shifting.
That's what makes exploring music so rewarding. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
Right.
This list is just a starting point,
Yeah.
a springboard for deeper exploration.
Exactly. It's all about expanding our horizons.
Yeah.
Challenging our assumptions.
Absolutely.
And realizing that there's always more to learn, more to discover, and more to appreciate.
We started this deep dive by trying to define underrated.
Right.
But maybe the real takeaway is that it's not about labels or categories.
Yeah, it's about opening our ears
Yeah.
to new sounds, new perspectives, new voices
Absolutely.
that challenge our preconceived notions of what hip-hop can be.
And it's about recognizing that true artistry can exist anywhere,
Yeah.
in the mainstream, in the underground, in the past, in the present.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to seek it out, to appreciate it, and to share it with the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into underrated rappers,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Keep exploring.
Keep listening.
Keep the music playing.
Don't be afraid to venture beyond your comfort zone,
Yeah.
to challenge your own tastes,
Mm-hmm.
and to discover those hidden gems that are waiting to be unearthed.
Because you never know your next favorite artist.
Exactly.
Might be hiding in plain sight,
Mm-hmm.
just waiting to be recognized for their true brilliance.
Mm-hmm.